Good morning. I'm Dr. Huang. Today, let me introduce Chemisville, a platform to support every stage of teaching and learning. First, Chemisville is a platform to allow professors and teachers to build their own test banks and video libraries. Second, Chemisville is a platform to allow instructors to implement any teaching pedagogy, including both active learning and traditional lectures. Third, Chemisville is a platform to support every learner at every stage, from first concept to final exam. Now let's look at a complete cycle of teaching and learning. Most professors believe that learning should start before class starts. Let's call them pre-class learning, because some contents can be learned by students without the help of the professors. Once the students enter the classroom, there must be some interactions between the instructor and the students. After class, students are expected to complete some homework. Let's call them after-class learning, to reinforce what was taught in class. Before an exam, students are expected to spend some time to prepare for the exam. At the end, there must be some official assessment. Chemisville provides support to all 5 stages of the learning cycle. Now let's look at the pre-class learning support Chemisville provides. Chemisville provides 3 different tools to support pre-class learning. The video and text tool will allow the instructor to assign pre-class watching and pre-class reading assignments. The assessment tool will allow the instructor to conduct pre-class assessment, collect student feedbacks, and summarize the results, and make the results available to the instructor. The feedback tool will allow the instructor to communicate with the students effectively. The unique feature of Chemisville for pre-class reading and pre-class watching assignments is that they are tightly coupled with the assessment questions. In other words, when a student is answering a question for pre-class assessment, sometimes students may want to go back for pre-class reading and pre-class watching to find a particular help. Because they are tightly coupled, the student does not need to waste time to search for that. On the pre-class assessment page, there is a button for the student to click. Once the button is clicked, the student will be able to access the pre-class reading or pre-class watching directly related to the question the student needs to answer. It is essential to assess pre-class learning by conduct pre-class assessment. This is to ensure students complete their reading assignments and have achieved certain learning goals. This will also allow the instructor to identify the areas of misunderstanding and understanding. The instructor will also know how many students need help and who needs help. After the students complete the pre-class reading or pre-class watching and complete the pre-class assessment, the statistical data will be provided to the instructor to allow the instructor to make informed decisions. At the same time, convenient tools are provided to the instructor to allow the instructor to communicate with the students effectively. At the end, the instructor will also know whether the contents will be suitable for pre-class learning or not. If the instructor thinks the contents are not suitable for pre-class learning, the instructor can take it out. Now let's go to the platform to see how these tools are being used. First, let's log in as a student. Let's click Curriculum Home. On this page, the student will see different chapters. Under each chapter, there will be different lectures. If you click the title of the lecture, you will see different folders. For example, under Significant Figures lecture, you will see pre-class activity folder, video folder, and homework. Under the video folder, you will see several different videos. For some folders, you may say another handout folder. Now let's go back to Scientific Notation lecture. Let's click pre-class activity. As you can see here, there are 3 questions for this pre-class assessment. Under the question, you will see a watch video button. If the button is clicked, a video will pop up. This video is tightly coupled with this question. In other words, the video will explain the concept and skills required to answer this question. Well, let's try to make a choice. Whoa, we got the correct answer, but why the grade is 50%? This shows this is due to late submission. The instructor can decide or assign the percentage of points a student can earn after the due date. It can range from 0% to 100%. Now let's go to the bottom. There is a pull-down menu. There are 2 choices for this pull-down menu. Before we make a choice, let's go back to the instructor account. Let's log in. Let's make sure we go to the same lecture, pre-class activity. As you can see here, there is a statistical panel to show how many students got the correct answer, how many students got the wrong answer, and how many students did not do it. Obviously, we can see that the only student in this class got the correct answer. But as you know, sometimes, although the student got the correct answer, but the student may think he still needs help. In that case, student can choose, I still need help. In this case, let's go back to the instructor account, say what happens on this page. Let's refresh this web page. As we can see here, now it shows 1 student got the wrong answer. Actually, this is not 100% accurate because the student got the correct answer, but the student chose, I still need help. In this case, this shows the number of students who either got the wrong answer or who still needs help. In this case, the instructor can click the email button or the print button to communicate with the students. Now let's click the email button. This is an email template the instructor can send to the students who got the wrong answer. Obviously, the instructor can type in whatever information the instructor wants the students to know. Once finished editing, the instructor can click Send button. Or the instructor can choose to click the Print button. In this case, the students who got the wrong answer or who thinks help is necessary will appear here. Then the instructor can choose to talk to the student or do whatever the instructor thinks appropriate. Now let's look at the support for the classroom interactions provided by Chemisville. Chemisville has a built-in clicker system. As we know, clickers are audience response tools that let every student answer questions in real time. So instructors instantly see who understands and who needs help. It can boost universal engagement because every student needs to respond, not just those who raise their hand. No one can hide. By answering questions during class, students' long-term memory can be strengthened because the students are not just passively listening. The students have to actively participate. Through the clicker system, instructors can see class-wide results in real time. Based on the results, the instructors can adjust their teaching on the spot. The response data can also spark targeted peer discussion and debate around misconception. Now let's go to the Chemisville platform to see how these are implemented. First, let's log in as a student. We already logged in as a student. To access the clicker system, the student needs to click Classroom. Now let's log in as an instructor. To access the clicker system, the instructor also needs to click the Classroom. The questions presented to the students are combined as in-class reflections. First, the instructor needs to create an in-class reflection. There are a series of pull-down menus. The instructor can choose what book, what topic, what subtopic, and the test item types. The instructor can choose multiple choice or test blank. After clicking Create, the in-class reflection will be created. Let me put them side by side. On the left side is the instructor screen. On the right side is the student screen. If the instructor click the reflection name, let's see what happens on the student screen. Okay, on the student screen, because this is a fill in the blank question, the student can type in the correct answer. Each student can only submit once. As you can see here on the left side, the instructor will see there is one submission for KR answer. The instructor can click reset button to allow the student to resubmit answers. This time, let me try to type in a wrong answer. If a student submit a wrong answer, the student name and email will appear at the bottom of the page. If an instructor is teaching a small class, the instructor can walk to the student and offer specific help. This is the best use of class time. Now let me create an in-class reflection, including multiple choice questions. As you can see here, the student screen is the same as the instructor's screen, except that the student screen does not have this statistical panel. Well, let's choose a random answer. This answer is wrong. And student name and email appears at the bottom of the page. The instructor will know who does not know the correct answer. The instructor can walk to the student directly and offer specific help. This is an effective use of class time. Now let's look at the after-class learning support provided by Chemisville. It is essential to complete homework after class to reinforce what was taught in class. Chemisville provides extensive support for homework completion. First, at Chemisville, each homework item is linked to a video walking through the steps to solve a similar problem. To access the video, the student only needs to click the Watch Video button on the same page. Chemisville also collects the wrong answers and ranks them by frequency. This will help the instructors to surface the most common misconceptions. As an experienced instructor, you may notice that the students make the same mistakes again and again. Chemisville can catch these most common mistakes and offer targeted feedback to the students to explain what went wrong. Another support for homework completion provided by Chemisville is to provide guidance steps. Let's think about two different scenarios. A student may not even know how to get started for a multiple-step calculation problem. In this scenario, Chemisville provides guidance steps, which means the students will be asked to provide answers step by step. Essentially, the guidance steps will walk through the problem-solving procedures. A different scenario. A student may get all the correct answers except one step for a multiple-step calculation problem. In this scenario, Chemisville will allow the student to check their answers one by one, and then tell the students which step the student make the mistake. Chemisville also provides two different ways to motivate the students. Well, at Chemisville, an instructor can set up penalty for each wrong answer submission. Let's assume that the student gets the correct answer after the fifth try. Then the student grade may not be very good. In this scenario, Chemisville will allow the student to try a new one. Let's assume that when the student tries the new one, the student gets the correct answer in the first try. Then Chemisville will keep the higher grade of the two tries. This will motivate the students to practice more. Some students like competition. The games mode will motivate the students who likes competitions. For most courses, there are always something that need to be memorized. Chemisville provide learning tools grounded in memory research. These tools will help the students to achieve long-term memory with minimum efforts. Memory research shows that the testing effect and spaced repetition are the two most effective methods to achieve long-term memory. Let me briefly explain what they are. Testing effect. Let's assume that an instructor wants the students to memorize the fact George Washington was the first president of the United States. To memorize this fact, the students will be asked different questions about the same fact. For example, who was the first president of the United States? The student will answer George Washington. Or George Washington was blank of the United States. The answer is first president. This way, it turns out it's very effective to achieve long-term memory. Spaced repetition. Assume that a student spent 20 minutes altogether to memorize the same fact I just present to you. This is not as effective as the student spends 5 minutes to memorize the same facts, then take a break and come back after the break to spend another 5 minutes to memorize the fact. This is called spaced repetition. The learning tool provided by Chemisville automatically implement these two principles. In addition, Chemisville will apply automatic reshuffling. This means the wrong ones and unpracticed ones show up first in the next round. Now let's go to the Chemisville platform to see these features. Let's log in as a student. This is the homework. As you can see here, there is a watch video button. If the student click the button, a video that will show the steps to solve a similar problem will show up. The student can watch the video to learn how to solve this problem step by step. The student can also choose to see the guidance steps by click the Show Guidance button. This problem is broken into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. Obviously, the student can choose to email the instructor to get more help. The memory boot camp is a place of the learning tool to help the student to achieve long-term memory. Let's try to look at one of them. Okay, there are 14 items to memorize. M represents 10 to the negative 3. N, 10 to the negative 9. F, 10 to the negative 15. Let's work out one more. 10 to the third. Well, I'm not going to practice all of them. The automatic reshuffling will put this last 4 at the end for the next round. Let's say if this is true or not. Oh, yeah, that is true. Well, this is what we did a moment ago. Okay, to access the game function, the student can click game. And the student can create a game and then invite his friend to join. Now let's look at the support for exam preparation provided by Chemisville. Chemisville will allow the students to take self-assessment before taking the real exam. After taking the self-assessment, the students will be told what deficiencies they have. Therefore, they can spend more time on the deficiencies. Their time use is more wisely. Now let's go to the Chemisville platform to see how a student can take a self-assessment. The student need to click the Make Me Exam Ready. The student can click Create New Self-Assessment button to create a new one. The student will know what chapters will be covered in the coming exam. If the student does not know, the student can ask the instructor. Let's assume that chapter 0 is the only chapter that will be covered in the coming exam. There are 2 options to create the self-assessment. If you choose the auto function, it will create self-assessment, including all subtopics and all test item types. If custom is chosen, the student can choose what kind of subtopics and what kind of test items will be included in the self-assessment. Let's click Create Self-Assessment button. A self-assessment will be created. Let's click the name of the self-assessment. Let's quickly go through this problem. Then let's click Finish My Assessment. The grade of the self-assessment is 75%. If we click the name of the self-assessment, we can go over the answers the student provided and whether the answers are correct or not. This indicates the student got the correct answer. And correct, correct, and wrong. If you look at the bottom, it explains what went wrong. If the student clicks the green button, this will show the students what subtopics the student still missed the skill. If the student click the name of the subtopic, it will bring the student to the videos that explain the subtopic, which is pretty cool. Now let's look at the official assessment support provided by Chemisville. Let's look at the features and benefits. Chemisville can help the instructor to reduce the exam writing time from hours to minutes. Chemisville can also make the data-driven metacognitive instruction possible. To perform the data-driven metacognitive instruction, the instructor can present the data provided by Chemisville to the students and lead to some discussions. Through these discussions, the instructor can help the students to become effective learners. Now let's go to the Chemisville platform to look at these features. To look at these features, let's sign in as an instructor. If you click Exam Administration, you can see the functions of exam administrations. You can create new exams. You can export or import an exam. You can also proctor an exam. Now let's try to create a new exam. Click this button. You can choose the chapters that will be included in the exam. Then we can make selections to choose what will be included in the exam. Click Create Exam. If you want to make changes for the exam, you can click the exam name. You can click Auto Reselect. It will randomly select new items from the test bank. You can also click Manual Reselect to manually pick the test item that will be included in the exam. If you click Gradebook, click Exam tab, click a grade. Let's go to the bottom of the page. You can see these charts. Different colors represent different kind of activities. The red color is for homework. Brown is for the exam. As we can see here, the x-axis indicates how many days ahead of the exam you conduct an activity. Okay, you can lead the discussion with the students. For example, if a student did very well for the homework and for the self-assessment, and the student is more likely to do well for the real exam. This is normal. You can use this to encourage the student to study more and regularly. Sometimes you will see that the student did very well for the homework, but did not do well for the exam. Because if a student completed the homework too early, like 20 days before the exam, and the student did not do anything before the exam, then it's possible for the student did not do well for the real exam. Another common scenario is that the student did not do any activities before the exam. Then the student get very poor grade for the real exam. This is very easy to explain to the students. Through these discussions, you can help your students to become more effective learners. There are also other formats to display the data. If you choose time, then this shows the time the student spent for a particular type of test item. You can also choose history. As you can see, this kind of stuff, this indicates the time the student spent for certain activity. This is for homework. Chemisville provides a lot of data for the instructor to use. This is great.